we have to get out of here in a few minutes, but you know, I'd be happy to answer any questions now for the next 10 minutes.
When's the next one?
The next movie will be, you know, obviously there's a very good story to be told right now. So it's the same story. It's like I've got to, you know, it's just complicated getting the money, getting the agreement from people. So we'll announce it as soon as we can. But the job is you know, is available. So if anybody wants to try and do it, you know, it's not my job. I mean, I try and do it, but I hope that it'll work out. And obviously, it feels like this film is doing well, and so that gives us a better chance. But obviously, you know, somebody's got to do it, so we better do it. And then it'll take. It's the same as this. It'll take. You know, if we tell the story of, you know, the last couple of years and next year, then it should be done by the end of 2017. So, yeah, that's the kind of. They sort of seem to take about 4 years, 5 years. So if it all goes well, it could be done by, you know, Christmas time, 2017. We will try. Anything else?
What was the hardest part about getting it made?
The hardest part, I mean, the hardest part is getting the money together and you know, getting permission to do it. So you know, it involves a lot of people helping out. One person that I forgot to thank before we started was Steve Natt, who is here tonight, and he, like, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had the money for the first shoot that we did in 2013 at the test in Texas. And it takes people like that, you know, people who will put some money into it, people who will come and help, and that really was the most nerve-wracking part, is that when you're trying to get it going, and you haven't got the funding. And in the end, the deal came through with Universal, and then we got the money to do it. But that didn't happen until August of 2013, and we've been doing a lot of work at that point. You know, one of my favourite scenes is the one of all the fans in Tavulia, you know, in the cafe, in the bar. And originally, I'd hoped to be able to, like, go to Qatar. You kind of think in sort of straight lines about, okay, we'll go to this race or that race. And we couldn't. There was no money, and actually Jerez was the first one that we actually were at. But I knew people in Tavulia, and I got hold of this, a friend of a friend, Enrico, who had a camera, and he's a local, and so he shot that stuff, and he's a construction guy, he's not a filmmaker. But he did that, and it's probably better because nobody paid attention. It's just Enrico. If I'd been there, or, you know, a couple of us, we would have got in the, you know, we would have affected the atmosphere, and so, you know, it's really, really special because people in different ways help in ways that are massively important in the end. So, you know, everything. The most nerve-wracking stuff was trying to get it done, and then the hardest part really was editing. Literally, the hardest part was editing it, which went on, like I said, for over a year, and, you know, 500 days roughly, and in the middle of dealing with, you know, the Universal, who were, you know, I got in a lot of trouble because it was late, and Brad Pitt came and helped and rescued me, and it's really a fantastic story of, like, you know, the bad corporation and the good Hollywood guy, and it's a really fantastic story, you know, when you look back on it. But at the time, it wasn't great, really. But it was, you know. But all the time, you know, like I said before, you just believe it's going to work out, and it's worth doing it right, and that's all that matters. But I hope it's easier next time. So, yeah.
Has it been screened in Europe, and if so, what's been the response?
Yeah, it has. They released it in England first, in the very end of August, beginning of September. It was done very well, but Universal basically, they put it out as quickly as they could, and so it played theatres, you know, for one night only in Britain and Italy and Spain, and then Australia as well, and so, there's always that thing of like, you kind of wish that they pushed it more as a film, not just as something for people who are into motorcycle racing, but they know there's a market for it. And it's done really well. I mean, it's done very, very well.
Sold out 17 theaters on Tuesday.
Yeah, either way, yeah, exactly. And the fact that Universal couldn't, because they're a huge corporation and they can put it out fast. And then because I was working with them to do that, and I went to England to promote it and everything, and so we got kind of behind here, which was just frustrating. But I had to do the stuff with Universal first, and now we've done all this, and we're a bit behind. But it was only released in Australia last month, so we're not very behind. But it's two totally different worlds. I'm really glad that in this country, there's, it's not a big sport, but there's a really devoted and knowledgeable fan base, and it's really great and gratifying to release it here. And so I apologise because we're a bit late, but this is the one territory, North America, where we kind of kept the rights and we can do this and take more time over it. And the DVD is, we made a thing with 3 discs and made all these extra short films because we think it's worth it, that the film deserves it and the subject deserves it and that the people deserve it too. But in general, no, it's gone down really well everywhere. So, all that matters is now, it's just great to see that. It's funny, you look at it and think, wow, it exists. For so long it was this thing that we were, will it exist? Will we finish it? And it's fantastic to see, wow, it's done. I can stop editing now. But anyway, so.
Mark,
yeah.
is it going to be available on streaming services?
Well, it'll be, right now it's on iTunes. It will be on the others. Again, it's just that thing of like, we have a sales agent who's doing deals. It'll be on Time Warner In Demand, on cable in February. And, it will be, I'm not sure, it will be on Netflix, it will be on others. But right now it's just on iTunes. And if you want the DVD, you can get it from our website. It will be on Amazon, early next year. But you can, if you just go to the website, hittingtheapexmovie.com, you can find out which theatres it's in. If you want to help organise a theatre screening, you can, which doesn't cost you any money. It's just a matter of finding a theatre and then getting enough people to go along. Anyway, that information is at the website. If you go to the website, you can find about theatres, you can find out about, you can get it on iTunes, and you can get it, the DVD, Blu-ray from the website.
Too.
What?
In the lobby too.
Yeah, no, you can get it in the lobby. Yeah, you can get it in the lobby too. Yeah, here. My wife is selling, it's the other person I should thank very much, is Fiona Neale. So she's out there and she'd be happy to sell you one.
Fiona told me she designed the cover. It's beautiful.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, well, it's a collaboration between her and Brad Pitt. Actually designed the poster, which is the front cover, because it's an opportunity again to rubbish Universal. The artwork they did was so bad that Brad intervened, and he did a load of designs, and that artwork is basically done by Brad Pitt. I mean, he was on holiday in France, and he sent me literally 20 variations on designs, and that became the artwork. And then Fiona did all of the artwork for the whole, because the DVD is like a box set, and it folds out, so there's like 8 panels, I guess. And Fiona's a graphic designer, so it's all in the family. And so thanks to her, and thanks to Steve Natt again, who I apologise for forgetting earlier to thank.
Mark,
yeah.
Since you know these guys a lot better than we do, what do you think really went on in Valencia? What's your take on that? With this Mark kid, what do you think he's doing?
I don't know. I assume that there's a lot of stuff that none of us here knows about that's gone on, and you know, I mean, like you get a sense of the pressure that they're under, and you know how hard that must be. I think that probably it's just my opinion, but you know, I mean, in the film you see that Marquez has a history of basically being dangerous, and not that any of them is totally safe, but that Rossi has always been conscious of risk, perhaps you know because of his father, but he has been. When you put that together, you know that he's older, he's more conscious of his mortality. Maybe Marquez is certainly very young and not that bothered by it, apparently. But you know, they're at two extremes, and yet they are both the king who was and the new king, or you know. So you can imagine Marquez wants to prove that it's his turn, and Rossi obviously isn't ready to give way. But I always wonder about when they go and do that 3 weeks, and they go and do 3 races, and they're flying between sort of, you know, massively different weather conditions. They go from Japan to Malaysia, and then, Japan to Australia, and then back to Malaysia. And I've never done those races, but I've seen them when they get to Valencia, and Chris John, I'm sure, knows what it's like on the inside, but people look wrecked. When they get to Valencia, they look so tired. The jet lag, the travel, and then the pressure of doing 3 races in 3 weeks. And then Malaysia is where Marco died, and you know, God knows what's going on in Rossi's head. And you know, if you've ever had jet lag and you've been under huge pressure, I mean, like you don't necessarily make perfect sense, but it was hard to understand all of that. But I think the fact that they're human and they're doing something which seems unimaginably hard, and then you add in whatever the story is about what's going on between them, then God knows. But I mean, I just think it was just terrible that they had to start at the back. I mean, it was just like, it was kind of pointless in a way. I mean, I know that Lorenzo deserved to win it in a way, but it's all very weird. No, it's just, I mean, it's good publicity overall. I suppose it's just tons of publicity, but I guess, you know, it's got to be different next year. And I don't know what happened at Valencia. I have no idea. I mean, it didn't seem right, but I've no idea. I don't know. I was watching TV, so like anybody. I think the only people who know are them, you know? Like you hear different things from, you know, Kevin Schwantz, who everyone's got a different take on it. So I can't answer your question. Sorry. But
are any of the teams more open to working with you, or more difficult, or are they all pretty?
No, they're all it's just a matter of spending time talking to them. You know, it really, I think it boils down to the rider. It's very, very hard to get time with Rossi. It was very, very difficult to get any time at all with Casey Stoner, but it gradually became possible. You get very specific short bits of time with people. It's very frustrating because you'll get like 15 minutes with Marquez and 15 minutes with Dani Pedrosa. But they gave me more as we went along. So you just have to respect. When they're at the races, they're working and they've got a lot of things to deal with. So it's always better to try and talk to them somewhere else. And if you can't talk to them, you know, like I went to Marquez's house and talked to his mum and dad there. So there are always different ways. And you know, with Rossi, he invited us to his private track for a day, and that, you know, so it worked out in the end. And Casey Stoner, he didn't want to talk to me at all for a while because he wasn't happy with Fastest because it was too much about Rossi and not about him. And then he finally did, and then we felt like we didn't. When Brad Pitt got involved, you know, like everyone, he's like, Dad, he still hasn't really told us why he quit. And so we went after him. And this is a perfect example. That interview, the final interview that I did with Casey Stoner was with Brad Pitt, and we did it via Skype. And Casey's in Australia, and I didn't, you know, I had been working with Brad for about a month at that point. And it was just the weirdest experience. I was with Brad Pitt in an office in Hollywood, talking to Casey Stoner via Skype. and it's just really weird to sit next to Brad Pitt and talk to Casey Stoner on Sky. But that was how we got the best stuff. It's like you just keep knocking at the door, and you have to basically get around the team or get what you can with them, and then sort of try and get more. And Lorenzo was the same. You know, we did a 1.5 hour interview in his hotel in Italy just after he'd won that race in Mugello, and he's obviously in a good mood. But you know, and I got more time with Danny after a test. So really, it's all down to, like, if they want to talk to you and you hang around for long enough, it'll work out. But it's just, you know, it takes a long time. That was, like I say, it was like 54 days of shooting. And that last interview with Casey Stoner was in February of this year. So, I mean, it's just mad how long it takes. And so we'll see if they still, I mean, you know, I think I should be on reasonably good terms with them.
Me and my girlfriend really enjoyed the part with the priests.
Right.
How did you learn about the whole thing with the bells?
Well, I read about that in Rossi's book that he published a few years ago. He talked about how the priests rang the bells. So I just always thought, oh, we've got to go and do that. And then when he won that race and we were in Europe, we went there and they obviously they reenacted the whole thing for us, and I couldn't believe it, you know, and it was so you know, I first met him when I was doing fastest. He's now like 93 years old, Don Cesare, and it was great. So we went to his, you know, he lives, you know, he's got an apartment sort of adjoining the church, and it was the one time where it was like shooting a movie, you know, a scripted movie, where he said, okay, no, I was sitting here at the kitchen table watching the TV, and then 3 laps from the end, I got up and walked down this corridor and turned the lights on. So we actually were able to rehearse the camera moves with him. And this 92-year-old at the time, or 91, did it for us twice, and then rang the bells and everything. So, but you know, again, that's something that sort of evolved over 5 years from the last film. Getting to know them. And then, again, it was Enrico, the construction guy, who shot the scene in the bar, who shot the cell phone footage of Don Cesare in the bar after Rossi won the race in Holland. So it's just, it's hilarious, really, how these things happen, and, you know, and who helps. But it was the most brilliant thing, being with the priests and doing that. And then they rang the bells for us, so we could film the bells ringing. And it was like a Saturday afternoon. And by the time we finished, there were all these people out in the street in Sevilla saying, "What's going on? Why are the bells ringing?" And you know, it's not a race this weekend, but what's happening? So it's great. I mean, it's just fantastic. And you know, a real the moments like that are such a laugh. You know, you can't believe it. And they're wonderful people, wonderful. I mean, a lot of them are just fantastic to talk to. But the priests are great.
We need to go.
Okay?
Yeah, it's after 11.
We'll have to get out.
We can all go to the Pike, though.
Yeah, we're going to we'll go outside. There are DVDs out in the lobby with Fiona.